Hey everybody, welcome to Q&A number 7. This should be a short Q&A session today, as I only have just a handful of questions that have come in over the last several weeks. I'll start with Fred McClure, who asked if I had any. Says, did you ever get specific food cravings? I think the first time I had anything specific of a craving, other than just calorie intake, was probably about the time I got to Erwin, Tennessee. I remember Uncle Johnny's bus took us out to an all-you-can-eat buffet of pizza, but they also had a salad bar there, and I remember just walking in and feeling my body just jump to the salad bar, and I spent more time eating green stuff than I really did the pizza there. That was probably my first craving, and then I think once it started getting a little bit warm, like Mountain Dew and Coke, anything with some caffeine in it, and the carbonation I craved. However, I can tell you that the carbonation is an enemy to hiking, though, because it's harder to get the carbonation off of your blood cell, and when it's on your blood cell, then it blocks oxygen from being able to be carried, and it actually kind of actually what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of drags you down in a way. So I think I would crave that, but then when I would yield to it, I would suffer, and then I would swear off on it, and pretty soon I'd have that craving again for it. In 2016, I think towards the last half of the hike, I just pretty much ate Idaho potatoes for dinner with different things because I was craving the potassium. All right, Keith Skaggs says, hey Big Bird, starting in April, I will be doing the 6-week lash on the AT. I was concerned about what time of the day I need to stop to make camp. I'll be hiking right in the bubble, and it will be crowded, and I can say yes, it will. Can I hike from sunup to sundown and still find a campsite? What I recommend, if you want to get more miles in, start earlier in the day, and I always tried to stop about an hour prior to sunset. I didn't like hiking in the dark. I managed to never actually hike with my headlamp. For me, I was plagued with injuries as it was. I didn't want to add to that, but it's not fun. I remember one of the campsites I got into, it was getting pretty close to darkness when I got into one of the campsites in the Smokies. The shelter was full, and it was really hard to find a camp spot with a headlamp going. So I'd always recommend stopping about an hour prior to sunset. Avoid the shelter areas, and you'll do better if you get the gut hook. We'll have some more camping sites annotated on than what's in the AWOL guide, so it might give you some more flexibility. And just remember, a lot of times in any of the gaps, there's usually some campsites that you can also find. Keith Young asks, what brand of trail runner did you wear, and what was the approximate cost? Okay, when I went to Trail Runners, I did the La Sportiva Wildcats. They're about $110 on Amazon. Now, I only got to hike with them for 3 days, so I cannot talk about how they did for me. However, I have been wearing them almost consistently as my normal day shoe here in Florida, and actually I love them. My son actually bought a pair for himself. I really noticed once I got home the amount of cushioning that those shoes had versus other shoes that I've worn, and I love them. Now I can't give you a good gear review on them for hiking because I only got the 3 or 4 days in them, and that just wasn't enough. Let's see, Fred McClure, he gets a second question this week. I said, did you ever think a small tarp would have helped to keep rain and wind out of the shelters, or to help setting up your tent and kitchen area? And there was one point in time when I backpacked that I would carry a small nylon tarp with me to be able to do that, to be able to set an area up to cook in when it was raining. But once you're on the AT, at the shelters, you'll be able to find plenty of places to be able to cook under canopy, I'll call it. in the Shenandoahs, they actually, for most of the spring when you hike there, they have tarps up over the entrance to be able to keep the rain and the wind out, and to keep the temperatures up inside the shelters. The very first night I spent on the AT, which was the shelter right below Springer, my son we were hammock camping. He took his tarp and put it up to keep the blowing snow out of the shelter. So yeah, it helped. Ideally, if that's something that you're concerned about, wanting to be able to have a place to cook under and set up your tent under, consider a hammock then. You know, because you can go in and set up your hammock tarp first, and then you can set your hammock up underneath it so it won't even get wet, and you can cook under that tarp, and it might be a way around that concern about having a little bit more shelter area, if you will, out of the rain and the elements for cooking. Warren Davidson asks, regarding shoes, this is more of a comment actually, it's not a question, because we were talking about shoes before. They're going into Franklin, the Outdoor 76, he says, you know, speak with Rob. He's fantastic and will put you in the proper shoe. And I did have experience with comments from both Magellan and Strider when they had gone into Franklin. They were having some issues with their feet, and they went to the outfitter there and really got set up with some shoes that were proper for their feet. And I asked them later on how they were working out, and they were really pretty happy with that experience. So you know, in Franklin, that's 100 miles in, so you'll know whether you have problems with your shoes or not by then. So remember, the Outdoor 76 in Franklin is a great place to go and get your shoes tweaked. Rob, I see Bebop King 1 asks, do you know how big of a gas canister will fit a 750 milliliter totes? Well, my 550 will fit one of the, it's a 4 ounce, but it's a 3.9 ounce, a small canister will fit down in it nicely. Not a whole lot of room for anything extra in there. The 750 then will probably do the same thing. If you wanted to go, I think my 750 Evernew, because it's a little bit wider and squattier kind of a pot, that will hold one of the next one up, which is the 8 ounce. Okay, so if it's a consideration to be able to put your fuel canister in your stove, honestly, I wouldn't make that a priority in selecting your pot. I would select a pot that you want, that you know you're going to need for capacity. If you're only going to heat 2 cups of water, go something small like a 550 or a 750. If you want to cook a meal in it and have something a bit wider, then a squattier 750 or a 900, or even the 1.1 liter boiler that I had in 2016. That would fit. That boiler would fit one of the medium canisters, the 8 ounce canister, and may have actually fit one of the larger Mammoth ones. But honestly, I don't know why on the AT anybody would want to go with more than the medium size 8 ounce. That'll last you almost a month as it is. Especially in the southern half of the trail, you'll be able to pick up canisters fairly often. So there's no sense in carrying a lot of weight. All right, everybody, that's it for the questions for this time around. If you have anything you want to ask, leave them in the comments section below, and share and subscribe, and like the video if you want, and we'll talk to you next time. Bye.